10,000 fearless on the move. Let's go.
Deep in the delta where the willows grow, in the soil stained by the blood of my ancestors. Punch bowl voices call out to my soul for justice. The wicked will reap what they've sown. Spirit of Aziz is back on the rise. Soldiers in the delta kept it alive. Time to stand up, take our place in the sun. Understand the time and what must be done.
10,000 fearless on the move. 10K fearless. This is it. 10K fearless on the move. Mississippi, sip.
Gotta make a move and take control. Have something we can call our own. So shine your light, help the people see that now is the time for us to be free. And if you waiting on the pie in the sky, you better wake up fast. They told you a lie, cause big fields await the wide awake man. Elijah's got the master.
10,000 fearless on the move. 10K fearless. Mississippi. 10K fearless on the move. Mississippi. Sip. Injustice we've had enough. All of our divisions we're breaking up. Destiny has been calling us. The spirit of the Most High is guiding us.
See the time is now. What you waiting on? Quit shooting your brothers. Put your gun down. Come on. They got a cage waiting for you if you keep that up. Early graves coming to you. From that, can't raise you up. Now Sister Ida B and Fannie Lou, check them out and you'll know what to do. But if you really want your enemy to be alarmed, read the final call. Follow Farrakhan.
10,000 fearless on the move. 10K fearless. Mississippi. 10K fearless on the move. Mississippi. Sip. 10K fearless on the move. 10K fearless on the move. 10K fearless on the move. In Mississippi, Mississippi. 10,000 fearless on the move.
Assalamu alaikum, peace be unto you, and welcome to the 10K Fearless Tri-State Podcast. I am your brother, friend, and host, Abdul Shahid Muhammad. Please allow us to begin in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. We bear witness to the oneness of God, the oneness of His prophets, and to the oneness of the scriptures that were revealed through them to the whole of humanity. We thank Him for Moses and the Old Testament. We thank Him for Jesus and the gospel, and we certainly thank Him for Muhammad and the Holy Quran. Peace be upon them and all of the worthy servants, messengers of Almighty God, Allah, as we call Him. Please allow me to greet you with the greeting words of peace in the Semitic language of every prophet that has ever been sent or raised among human beings. And those words are Assalamu alaikum. They simply mean, may peace be unto you. So feels good to be back. Been out of town. Been moving about a bit, but glad to be back before these microphones here at the 10K Fearless Tri-State Podcast. And it is always, dear brothers and sisters, that what we attempt to share of information on this platform will be beneficial to those who listen, beneficial to your spiritual growth and development, and to serve as some guidance in some very, very troubled times. Tonight, we will cover a recurring nightmare, as I call it, again, in cold blood, the Sonia Massey murder. I wouldn't classify that as a killing or even as a police shooting. I would classify that as murder. In fact, the responsible officer has been charged, last I checked, with murder. And the video evidence shows that fact. So tonight, dear brothers and sisters, we're going to be discussing this recurring nightmare of the extrajudicial killing of black people by rogue police officers and the growing lack. And it is grown. It is a mature growth in terms of the lack of trust between the black community and many of America's local police forces. And this is a conversation that is open to those who would care to call in. I got a question for the audience that I think you all would probably want to entertain. If you tuned in already, and I see some of you have tuned in, call a friend, call a relative, and have them tune in to the 10K Fearless Tri-State podcast on Podbean. And this issue, brothers and sisters, just keeps on rearing its ugly head, and it will not go away. And we need to we need to begin to ask ourselves as black people some very, very serious questions. One of which is, how long will we endure this and go through the same process of protest, of lawsuit, news conferences, marches, gathering and lining up, and, descending on police departments in front of them with our signs and shouting? Clearly, they're not paying attention to that. They don't hear it. Clearly, we need to change something, because regardless of the number of protests, the intensity of the protest, the number of participants, it just won't go away. So something has to change, not necessarily in America's police departments, those that have this problem, which is a pretty good number of them. But something needs to be changed in the behavior of black people. And the only way things will change in the behavior of black people is we must change the way we are looking at this and the way we think about it. And we need to employ some new stratagems and new ways of, as Dr. Martin Luther King would say it, redistributing the pain that these families continue to suffer as they have to get that unenviable phone call from local police departments that their loved one has been killed by a police officer. And you find out that it was unjustified and completely unnecessary. So before we get into it tonight, as we do, we want to go over the guiding principles that undergird every conversation and every broadcast that we present on this platform. And we call them axioms, which is a statement or proposition which is regarded as being established, accepted, and or self-evidently true, and to serve as a premise or starting point for further reasoning and arguments. Okay? And the first one that we pretty much always give, because it is very instructive, and I don't take these lightly, but it's from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, wherein he said, quote, "He who gives you the diameter of your knowledge prescribes for you the circumference of your activity." The number one thing that we were not allowed to do as black people when our souls landed on the shores of what is now called the United States of America was they saw fit to disallow us the human right to know, to read, to be educated, to be informed. And that same program is in place, that it's just far, far more sophisticated in its application and in its presentation. They have developed the ways and means by which they can make us believe we're being educated while in reality we're being trained, not educated, but trained, and there is a difference. The second axiom by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, when he identified or gave us a definition of a slave, when he said, quote, "A slave is one whose power and authority is ruled over by another, and whose sphere of freedom is limited according to the wishes of his master." End quote. Very instructive as well. And I'll go to the third one, which is from our brother Carter G. Woodson in his book, The Miseducation of the Negro. And it seems as though this kind of thing is still present among us. We're being controlled because our thinking is controlled. We refuse to divest ourselves of the instruction, and we refuse to come from under the tutelage of a people in their institutions that have clearly demonstrated they refuse and have no desire to inform, educate, and treat us in a way that would allow us to be free from their control. So the definition of a slave given by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan fits the current condition of the masses of black people. Most of us are still in this condition. When the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said, when you control, I'm sorry, not the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, I'm sorry. When Carter G. Woodson wrote in his book, The Miseducation of the Negro, when he said, when you control a man's thinking, you do not have to worry about his actions. You do not have to tell him to go here or yonder. He will find his proper place and will stay in it. You do not need to send him to the back door. He will go without being told. In fact, if there's not a back door, he will cut one for his special benefit. His education makes it necessary, end quote. The stratagem in 2024 of protests and marches, dear beloved brothers and sisters, has proven completely ineffective in the face of the continued onslaught and the recurring nightmare of the extrajudicial killing of black people by rogue policemen. Someone comes out and says, "I'm sorry." A few press conferences are held. The family sues the local police department and local government, and it all gets quiet again until the next one. They know how to endure the protest because they just wait it out. Because they know you can't and we can't march all day 24/7. But our brothers and sisters in years past, like Medgar Evers, Martin Luther King, particularly the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, and today the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has been giving us guidance on how to properly respond to this kind of oppression and tyranny. But we find those methods to be too uncomfortable and too demanding on us because it requires that we separate ourselves from a system that continues to disrespect the lives of black people. And the climate today, particularly the political climate, is further emboldening those who have those attitudes as it relates to black life. And it seems as though we simply cannot or will not understand that as Caucasian and European people disagreed amongst themselves, understood that when in the course of human events it becomes necessary for two people who political ties have bound them together to establish the equal and separate station, as it says in the Declaration of Independence. But we don't seem to see the need to do that. We seem to be quite comfortable enduring the discomfort, the repeated discomfort of turning on the TV and picking up the newspaper or scrolling a social media feed and reading about stories like this. It's almost as though we're becoming accustomed and comfortable and desensitized to it. So we're going to get into this discussion this evening, but of course, we want to recognize those who have helped us and support us. We got our brother William. He's going to be coming up next with the Farm Report. But before we get to the Farm Report, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to be right back after these commercial announcements. Y'all stand by. Don't go nowhere now.
Shake's Famous Seasonings. Flavors for every occasion. Want to add a touch of authentic flavor to any dish? Searching for a unique range of seasonings that always put great taste on the menu? Welcome to Shake's Famous Seasonings. Whether you're a professional chef, passionate home cook, or a complete beginner in the kitchen, taste and flavor should always be on the menu. It's why Master Chef Rashid Muhammad has combined more than 30 years in the kitchen with a passion for mouth-watering flavors to create a range of seasonings unlike any other. Always gluten-free, so you can enjoy great taste exactly how nature intended. Versatile flavors that work with fresh fish, chicken, or vegetables from the very first bite. Authentic cooking experience that adds something special to any occasion. Versatile seasonings that are perfect for baking, frying, grilling, and plenty of tasting. Ready for real, authentic flavor? When it's time to see just how delicious seasoned foods can be, why wait? With the click of a button, you can have 30 years of passion for food sent direct to your door. Just what you need to add flavors to every occasion and create meals that you'll always want to eat twice.
Place your order at sfseasonings.com. That's sfseasonings.com.
The Urban Indulgence Bath and Body Boutique. At Urban Indulgence, we pride ourselves on offering quality, effective skincare. Handcrafted with plant-based, skin-loving ingredients, our soaps and body butters will give you luxurious lather and ultimate moisture. Experience the Urban Indulgence at 3314 Poplar Avenue in Memphis, 3 blocks west of Poplar Plaza, or shop with us online at theurbanindulgence.com. theurbanindulgence.com.
Taste the difference. Taste Supreme. Enjoy our 100% natural Supreme spring water with natural calcium and magnesium, but zero fluoride and zero chloride. Our bottles are BPA free. Order yours today. Call us at 800-573-8033. That's 800-573-8033. Or visit us online at www.supremespringwater.com. Live supreme. Be supreme. Drink supreme. Supreme Spring Water. 801 Joseph E. Boone Boulevard, Northwest, Atlanta, Georgia, 30314.
Worldwide, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Download the Final Call Radio app and take us everywhere. On your phone, on your computer, on your tablet, on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. You can also log on to finalcall.com and click the Listen Live button or finalcallradio.com. Final Call Radio, the official voice of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam.
What's your source for truth in news reports?
Justice, no peace. No justice, no peace.
Where do you turn for non-corporate driven news that's fair and balanced?
No shoot. No shoot.
Subscribe to the Final Call News, your #1 free and independent news source that delivers hard-hitting national and international news coverage of today's political, economic, and social issues. To subscribe to local home delivery, call us at area code 662-252-8999. That's 662-252-8999. Visit our website at www.finalcall.com.
10,000 fearless on the move.
Do you use your religion as an excuse not to stand up and fight your natural enemy? And the only people on this earth, Brother Alton, the only people on this earth that use their religion and their so-called belief in God as an excuse not to stand up and confront their enemy is my people. Negroes are the only people I know that.
And we are back live at the 10K Fearless Tri-State Podcast. Again, I am your brother, friend, and host, Abdul Shaheed Muhammad. We thank you for tuning in, and we are about to get into tonight's discussion. But before, and as you can probably tell in my voice, I'm a little somber because I read this story and I've watched the video several times. And being in law enforcement myself, it's very difficult to watch. And with the knowledge of how an officer should engage such encounters. Been doing it for 30 years, y'all. So you can't sell your brother the foolishness that I saw. But I think we got on the line a good brother that we really, really need to hear from, and he's on hold. Let me bring him in. Assalamu alaikum, Brother William. There he is. He's here with the farm report. Our brother William Muhammad, our student in the Ministry of Agriculture of the Holly Springs, Mississippi Study Group. Brother William, what do you got for us this evening?
Yes, sir. We're about to get ready to start fall planting. We're about to wrap up for the summer season. I think we do have a few squash up that are still growing. That's cucumbers. Hopefully, inshallah, I'll be going out there to see maybe to get anything from the summer season. Like I said, we get started the fall season, the paint, and we're just getting ready.
Yes, sir. Praises be to Allah. It sounds like we got a little click going on in your line. I don't know whether it's me or you, but we can't hear you, brother. So we're getting ready for fall crops, and what all is in the lineup to be planted, my brother?
Yes, sir. We're going to plant some green beans, some cabbage, some broccoli. There's a couple more items. I'm not sure what they are. I'm supposed to meet with them and they can what are they going to do. I think we're going to do more squash as well. Those are food I know right off.
Praise be to Allah. I know my wife and I, brother, we're going to be getting ready. I know she's probably going to have me out there, and she'll be out there with me, of course. She's the guru on this. But we're more than likely we're going to do some lettuce and probably some spinach. We may even do some broccoli, brother. Still kind of up in the air. We got some heirloom seeds available, so we'll kind of sift through and see what we'll need to grow right in the backyard. And brothers and sisters, those that are listening and those that will subsequently, listen to the replay of this podcast, if you got some land or some property, I don't care if it's 3 feet by 3 feet, 2 feet, 1 foot by 1 foot, plant something and grow something within reach of you, because it's going to serve you well, and you'll be so glad you did in the coming days. So, Brother William, before we part ways, brother, you have anything else to leave us with?
That's going to be it for right now. It's kind of out right now, so
okay.
We just ready for the fall season.
Okay. Well, brother, we certainly thank you. We always appreciate that you would take time and pick up the mantle of the growing of food and keeping us in the loop in terms of what's going in the ground and what's coming out of the ground and what's going on in the news with respect to the Food and Drug Administration and what they're doing and how we can protect ourselves against the movement in the food industry that's not in the best interest of our health. So, brother, till next time, we greet you, Brother William. Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Yes, sir. Sir.
That was our Brother William Muhammad. We're going to give him another round of applause. We certainly thank him for coming on and giving us real-time information about what's being planted and how we can benefit from what he is planting. So we're going to make sure we keep our ear to the ground and keep up with our brother and get what we can of what is produced in terms of the fall crops. So we're back. We're at the starting line for tonight's episode in terms of what our subject matter is. We're going to be talking about, as I stated, and tonight's program is essentially entitled Again, with 3 exclamation points. Because I know some of us are saying it, again, but not with a question mark. And this time it was in straight cold blood. It's the recurring nightmare of the extrajudicial killing of black people by rogue police officers. And the lack of trust, the absence of trust between the black community and local police departments around this country. So what happened? I'm sure all of you have heard, you've listened, and just to let you know, the lines will be open. So if you just log on to Podbean, free user ID and password, and when you log in, you'll see 6 of them circles, or 8 of them really, and that says call in. Because once we get to a certain point, I want to hear your thoughts on a question that I do plan to ask, okay? Or even before then, if you so desire. But what happened? And I'm going to go to what they said happened in an article. You know, that's why we have the final call, brothers and sisters. You're going to understand one way or another that we need to take the responsibility of reporting our own news through an organ or a conduit that is not beholden to special interest or corporate interest that can put the kind of pressure on the editors and the owners of the paper to skew and water down the truth. The Final Call newspaper is such a news organ whereby we can tell the truth unfiltered and unadulterated and give you exactly what happened as it happened, okay? So this article is actually from ABC News. That's okay. And it's entitled, She Called for Help and We Failed. That's what the sheriff of Sangamon County said in his press conference. The presence of the family said we failed. And we've heard this a lot. We failed. And departments continue to fail. But the sheriff, they employed this former officer who shot Sonia Massey, you know, and his name was Sean Grayson. He's the deputy who fatally shot this sister in her home on July 6th while responding to her 911 call. And we need to wrap our heads around this. Can you imagine calling 911 for help, and the help that's supposed to be help gets there and kills you or kills one of your family members? You calling for help. And I'm going to share something with you, brothers and sisters, from my perspective in terms of how this officer positioned this sister. And this is totally based on my observations of the empirical data, the available information, and looking at the video body camera footage that shows clearly enough footage to make an accurate assessment of how this went down. Because I don't care what she said, because, you know, some people, well, you don't know what was said prior to that video starting. It doesn't matter what was said. Words are not a lethal threat to police that would justify using lethal force, for those that may have that thought in your head. But this sister called for help and got murdered for calling for help. They charged him with first-degree murder. He's pleaded not guilty. Shows you the level of arrogance. And if you listen at his commentary on the scene in the aftermath of the shooting, he called this woman a crazy bee. Yeah. You go listen at it yourself. Call the woman a bee. You know what a bee is. Everybody know what that is, right? I'm not going to use the actual word on this platform. But he was charged with first-degree murder, aggravated battery with a firearm, and official misconduct in the wake of the murder of this sister. And, you know, people applauded, you know, the sheriff, Mr. Sheriff Campbell is his name. They applauded his comments. But, of course, there's growing fear and outrage concerning law enforcement and community relations in that area. Because, brothers and sisters, we have to ask ourselves, now that his history as a police officer has come to light, why do these things not come to light until a tragedy happens? I find it very, very interesting that all of the stops are pulled out in the workforce when a brother who has done some time and he's coming out of prison and trying to get a job. All he has to do is check one wrong box and he can forget being employed. He can forget it. But in the police profession, a rogue police officer, an officer that has clearly engaged in misconduct and even criminal conduct, on several occasions can still meander his way through that industry and get employed. As you will hear when we share with you Mr. Grayson's history. I mean, it is insane. It really, really is. And it is a reflection on the departments that hire these kinds of officers. Because I'm going to start with this. This is how we're going to start. I'm going to get with this article. I'm going to give you some excerpts from this ABC News articles. The sheriff said, I offer no excuses. What I do offer is an attempt to do better, to be better. I'm going to be honest, family, that kind of rings hollow because it keeps happening. And then he says, we will probably never know why he did what he did. Look, man, we've been in this country over 470 years. We know why he did what he did. His demeanor, his conversation in the aftermath of it is all the evidence that we need to understand why he did what he did. And to be honest with you, I really don't understand those. We may never know why he did what we know why he did what he did. There's a mountain of evidence in history that point to why he did what he did. But then he says, the sheriff continues, but I'm committed to proving that the best service he said, I'm committed to providing the best service we can to all of you. Well, in my humble estimation, this needs to be done on the front end, meaning during the hiring and vetting process of those who say they want to serve and protect, those who want to put on a gun and a badge and quote unquote police communities, particularly the black community. Because I can tell you straight up, there's not a serve and protect attitude when it comes to the hood. It's more of a survival attitude and a go hunting out attitude when it comes to the hood and the black community. And the sad part of this, from our last broadcast, we had to talk about we must stop the killing. Because the backdrop to this is we doing more killing of our own selves. And then we have to come on and talk about the police killing us too. And it makes it very, very difficult. Because when you say Black Lives Matter, I'm talking about the movement, not the people that commandeered it and steered it in a direction that it shouldn't be. But I'm talking about the movement. The mantra is right and exact. Black Lives Matter. But it makes it very, very difficult to champion that mantra and to champion that movement in the face of what we do to ourselves and in the wake of what police continue to do in communities around this country to Black lives. So that comment, we will probably never know why he did it. It rings hollow in my ears. And people are calling for him to step down. And he says, I cannot step down. I will not abandon the sheriff's office at its most critical moment. See, brothers and sisters, when you know what I know and understand, ooh-wee. Because the hiring and the vetting process should be such that you weed out the training process. There's a mentality in law enforcement, brothers and sisters, that has been a cancer in the profession for too long. And those in the profession have been too quiet about it. We want to dismiss it and excuse it in many, many different ways. When this kind of thing and this kind of wickedness and low downness and evil stares us right in the face, we refuse to look at it eye to eye, pupil to pupil, and call it what it is. Well, we're going to do it tonight. It's straight up murder. And anyone who would defend it, because white America has a way of showing you how they feel, because there have been instances where these kinds of killings have happened. Next thing you know, according to at least to what has been published, these killers get GoFundMes to the tune of millions of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Who are all these people that agree with what happened, say, for instance, in the Michael Brown situation? That man didn't have to worry about a pension. They raised over $1 million in support of it. They even made a song. White folks sang a song celebrating this young brother getting shot down and laying in the street for hours. That's how they feel. And it's not just a few in some hidden corners tucked away in America's rural areas. No. So the article continues. The officer is only 30 years old. I want you to pay attention to the age. This is not, when you look at these mass shooters, like the white guy, I can't remember what city it was. Young 18-year-old had semi-automatic weapons going through a grocery store just shooting black people. These are not old tobacco chewing backwoods people. These are millennials doing this. So this Officer Grayson is just 30 years old. And a second armed deputy responded to her call for 911 on the 6th of July concerning, or she was reporting a possible prowler, or an intruder. Now, an interesting thing about the footage that I noticed, that hopefully all of you noticed, it showed the vantage point of the supporting officer, which to me is to suggest, well, why didn't they publish the first officer's footage, or did they? If I didn't see it, because the angle I watched showed the supporting officer's footage. So I question if somebody can tell me, was the officer who fired, was his body camera even on? And there's a lot of you have tuned in. You can correct or inform or enlighten a brother, was his body camera even on? Was it on? But let me read to you, brothers and sisters, what they say the vetting process is when hiring police officers. Very interesting. But listen at what they said the vetting process is, because the question was asked, how did he even get hired in the first place? Now, police vetting, it includes being asked to provide information on yourself, meaning your personal information, financial information, police information if you have a history, criminal history, etc. Information on your family, meaning your parents, partners, or spouse, your siblings, their partners, your children, your neighbors, associations that may cause a conflict of interest with your role as a police officer or the police service. Policemen cannot associate with people who have criminal histories. Police vetting also includes the kind of background checks that extends across all police information systems. And these checks are done on you, on your family, and other associates. They even do a credit check, because that's done to make sure money problems don't make you vulnerable to blackmail or any kind of corruption. They check social media and open source checks. And those checks are on content about you that's publicly available on the internet. They spend a lot of money to do all of this vetting process, to give you a psychological eval and make sure you ain't crazy. At least they're supposed to. And all of this to ensure that there's nothing linked to you that could undermine public trust and confidence in the police service. Mm-hmm. And that's just that's the shortened version of the vetting process. It's pretty rigorous. So the question has to be asked, how can this deputy, with his checkered past, pass the muster of that kind of vetting process? Because I'm told by a very reliable source that oftentimes when officers or ranking officers come from larger departments and go to smaller ones, they often leave to become the police chief, and they bring some of their boys with them. In fact, one good brother I know made that comment about the Senatobia Police Department. And the boys they bring with them is those rogue boys, those goon squad mentality boys. And there's a level of nepotism in smaller jurisdictions and smaller agencies where the son and the nephew and the son-in-law is hired. And the police department is almost essentially run by a family. If I'm lying, correct me, because I'm telling you, I know what I'm talking about. I've seen it here in Shelby County, in the sheriff's department. I've seen it. And anybody listening to me that know Muhammad, brother Muhammad, if I'm lying, come to my face and tell me I'm lying. Don't hide behind the door. Come to me, nose to nose, pupil to pupil, and say, Muhammad, you lying, man. That ain't true. And I will prove to you that that kind of nepotism has existed. Listen at my words, has existed in local departments in Shelby County, where you have son-in-law and husband and wife, and one's the chief, and but the children get hired. This is the kind of thing, brothers and sisters, that continues to dog the black community. There was a job selling scam with one of the former sheriffs, Shelby County Sheriff, back in the early 90s. They was selling. You had to go get a loan to get the job. And there were some federal indictments that came in the wake of it. And you know they was cherry picking who got the job and who didn't. This is what we're talking about, dear brothers and sisters. So that's the vetting process, or at least in part the vetting process. And I see some, man, I'm sorry I hadn't checked the dashboard. I see somebody they're writing and they want to comment, and I welcome your comments. And this is my brother William. He said, I think the rogue officer turned his body cam off. You can see him from the other officer's body cam view. Reach up and does something, he says, to his body cam. Then you can hear it beep. That's a great observation. Let me tell you about another little observation that I noticed. But before I tell you that, let me go to another article that they wrote about Mr. Grayson. And the article is also from ABC News. It says former sheriff's deputy who fatally shot Sonia Massey held 6 police jobs in the past 4 years. 6 different police jobs. You know, when you get hired, they ask you for your employment history, don't they? Do they not? And somebody looking at his employment history, you mean tell me somebody didn't say, well, you've been to all these police, even if he wrote it down, even if they vetted and checked his employment history. It's kind of difficult to believe that escaped the people that hired him. Very difficult to believe that escaped them. That he worked 6 different police jobs prior to getting to the one where he killed our sister. But the article says the former sheriff deputy who shot Sonia Massey in her Illinois home while responding to her call for help has held 6 different police jobs since 2020. The Illinois Law Enforcement Training and Standards Board confirmed it. So you mean the Law Enforcement Training and Standards Board confirmed it, but the hiring agency didn't know? Or is there even a connection, possible connection? Is that a source that they check? Or did they check after the fact and find out? Don't know. Have to give it balance. Now, the footage reviewed shows that Massey, the sister, told the deputy, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. Why did she say that? You go and listen at the body cam. He suggested that she was fixing to do something to him, and she said, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. In other words, I ain't finna do nothing like that. Furthermore, they asked her to turn the pot off and take it off the stove. She did not make the decision to do it. Saying, I don't want you to burn nothing down. Now, look, let me tell you something. Y'all better listen to what I'm saying, brothers and sisters. That comment is very suspect to me. As though she don't know how to cook or take that pot off the stove. I don't want you to burn the house down. Wait a minute. That's not what you're here for. That's a out of bounds comment, if you will. That's a free radical type comment that has nothing to do with the call or the current discussion. She goes over doing what they ask her to do. So naturally, she's going to pick the pot up because you sent her over there to pick it up. Why did you do that? I'm going to stop right there. Because as I discuss this, I know what you all are listening are thinking right now. Why did this man tell this woman to go take her pot off the stove? Yes, And I'm looking at my comments, and my dear sister Johnny Houston from Holly Springs, Mississippi. Sister Johnny says, yes, sir, brother. What you are saying happened in most areas of government. They just passed their elects around from position to position, friend to friend, family member to family member. So familiar. You right, sis. So I ain't lying. Y'all know nepotism happens, not just in policing, in government, and all other facets of government. It's a family affair. Even in voting, you vote for them because that's my cousin, friend, nephew, sister, and them brother. That kind of stuff. Not who's best qualified, not who's most capable, but based on family ties. And we wonder why we can't get anything done. But that's a whole nother podcast, or an additional one. But back to this officer, Sean Grayson, and the video footage. Why did he ask her to go take the water off the stove? Was he genuinely concerned with the potentiality of her burning something down when all of them are standing there watching the pot? Then he tells her to go take it off the stove, and at his request or his beckoning or his order, whatever word you want to use, she goes over there, she gets oven mitts. She takes the pot off. Now, if you watch the footage, soon as she gets over there almost, this officer's right hand goes on his gun. And he tells her to put it down. She pours the water over into the sink and ducks, puts her hands up. One of the oven mitts was red. And I'm going to read it. Even ABC News says that that's what she did. Listen, the footage reviewed by ABC News shows that Massey told the deputy, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. And then she apologized after the officer threatened to shoot her. She poured the water into the sink and ducked down behind the counter, covering her face with what appears to be a red oven mitt. She briefly rose and Grayson shot her 3 times in the face, end quote. This is what their news article says. This is what this news article says. This man pleaded not guilty. Now, the Law Enforcement Training and Standards Board records show that Grayson worked 3 full-time and 3 part-time jobs in 4 police departments and 2 sheriff's offices over the past 4 years, all within the state of Illinois. This man didn't even cross state lines. In Memphis, when officers that have a little conduct problem leave or resign, a lot of times they will appear down in Mississippi somewhere. Telling you what I know. That's a fact. This man has had 3 full-time and 3 part-time jobs in 4 police departments and 2 sheriff's departments over the past 4 years, from 2020 to 2024. All of them within the same state, Illinois. He was employed at 3 different police departments in 2021 alone, according to the records. His shortest term of employment, according to the article, was the Kincaid Police Department, where he was employed for just over 3 months. And the records list his reason for leaving as, quote, other, unquote. So the category that they put for the reason he left, they just put other. I wonder what the other categories were that he didn't fit in. So they just put other. His longest term of employment was the Sangamon County Sheriff's Office, where he worked for 1 year and 2 months. And he was fired from the Sangamon County last week when he shot Miss Massey. So the department where he committed his crime is where he worked the longest. And that stint was just for a year and 2 months. He worked part-time at the Pawnee Police Department from August 2020 to July 2021. His reason for leaving? You guessed it, other. The Verdun Police Department hired him part-time from May to December 2021. And he also worked full-time at the Auburn Police Department from July 2021 to May 2022. Both departments list his reason for leaving as resigned. Now, this begs the question, man, do you want to be the police or not? Because you sure doing a lot of jumping around. He then worked at the Logan County Sheriff's Office full-time from May 2022 until he resigned, another resignation, in April of 2023. And he was hired at the Sangamon Sheriff's Office in May, a month later, 2023, where he remained until he was fired after shooting this innocent woman. The biggest question that everyone is asking is, how did this man ever get hired in the first place with the police department where he murdered this woman, where he murdered this sister? One brother said when a black man has just a little blemish in his credit, he can't get hired into the police department. So, brothers and sisters, how long will we employ the same strategy in response to these kinds of things? This sister called for help and got a bullet in the face, according to ABC News 3. This woman shot 3 times in the face. And when you review that body cam footage, which they showed a segment of it, it shows clearly when this woman walks over to that stove, within seconds of her getting to that stove, Grayson puts his right hand on his pistol. After asking the woman to go and remove the pot from the stove and his distance from her and where she was standing, she was not a threat, much less a lethal threat. Now, we're at the top of the hour. There's something in policing called use of force continuum, meaning the level of force appropriate at each stage of an encounter with someone. It begins with officer presence. That's the first step in the use of force, is officer presence. Then it goes to verbal commands. But we're going to go through them when we come back from our break, because, we got to take a break and we got to stay abreast of our sponsors and those who support us. So we're going to take a quick break, brothers and sisters. You all hold on, and we'll be back, and we're going to take you through the use of force continuum so you'll better understand how we arrive to lethal force. We'll be right back.
It's 20 past 12. Chilling in the studio. Taking over the world. Assalamu alaikum. Wa alaikum salam. I come in peace. I don't mean you no harm. I say assalamu alaikum. Wa alaikum salam. I come in peace. I don't mean you know, I don't mean you know. See, I come in peace, ain't nobody I am hurting except my enemies, but for my brothers I am working. Cause the powers that be wanna see, that's why they're lurking. We're both making up.
Taste the difference. Taste Supreme.
Enjoy our 100% natural Supreme spring water with natural calcium and magnesium, but zero fluoride and zero chloride. Our bottles are BPA free. Order yours today. Call us at 800-573-8033. That's 800-573-8033. Or visit us online at www.supremespringwater.com. Live supreme. Be supreme. Drink supreme. Supreme Spring Water, 801 Joseph E. Boone Boulevard, Northwest, Atlanta, Georgia, 30314.
The Urban Indulgence Bath and Body Boutique. At Urban Indulgence, we pride ourselves on offering quality, effective skincare. Handcrafted with plant-based, skin-loving ingredients, our soaps and body butters will give you luxurious lather and ultimate moisture. Experience the Urban Indulgence at 3314 Poplar Avenue in Memphis, 3 blocks west of Poplar Plaza, or shop with us online at theurbanindulgence.com. theurbanindulgence.com.
Worldwide, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Download the Final Call Radio app and take us everywhere. On your phone, on your computer, on your tablet, on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. You can also log on to finalcall.com and click the Listen Live button or finalcallradio.com. Final Call Radio, the official voice of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam.
What's your source for truth in news reports?
Justice, no peace. No justice, no peace.
Where do you turn for non-corporate driven news that's fair and balanced?
No shoot. No shoot.
Subscribe to the Final Call News, your #1 free and independent news source that delivers hard-hitting national and international news coverage of today's political, economic, and social issues. To subscribe to local home delivery, call us at area code 662-252-8999. That's 662-252-8999. Visit our website at www.finalcall.com.
10,000 fearless on the move.
America can change, but attitudes change slowly. There's something that we, as black people, must do to affect that kind of change. But if our people are jobless and in gangs and are the #1 killers of themselves, then how can anyone looking at that picture see us as their equal? So there's an awful lot of work for black leaders, black preachers, black teachers, black organizations to do to lift our people up out of the quagmire that they are in. And that is not on Barack Obama. He has the cross of America to bear, but the raising of our people is still our job to do.
Yes, indeed. It is our job to do. And that is a testimony of sorts on what is necessary. We now have to change, brothers and sisters. We have to divest ourselves of the false ideas and concepts and perceptions we have about America, about her politics, about her economics, about the religion she's imposed on us. We need a more mature and deeper understanding of each. I am not suggesting to divest ourselves of them, because the most honorable Elijah Muhammad came, was raised to raise us from spiritual, mental, moral, economic, and political death. Because our understanding of God, religion, politics, and economics is a death-like understanding, because it has not produced what we go to school and get educated to produce. We get a degree and a doctorate degree in economics, but we don't even have an economy to speak of among black people. We go get a doctorate degree in psychology. In our communities, we still crazy as I don't know what. We get a doctorate in divinity. and fewer souls are being saved. So who's teaching us? That becomes a serious question that we have to take a serious look at. So brothers and sisters, as we go downhill for the rest of the program, I want to ask you a question. I think we've laid out, the bare guts of what happened to Sonia Massey. And before I go any further, which I intended to do at the beginning of this program, because you never know who's listening, so we want to send our deepest condolences to the Massey family and all who are related to her, because this 5'2" tall, slightly built sister, just 36 years old, did not deserve a bullet in her face. And then to be spoken of as she lie there on the floor, breathing her last breath. One officer wants to render aid. The officer firing the shot saying, "No, there ain't no need in doing that. That was a headshot." How do you know? I can tell you, brothers and sisters, in a high-stress situation, you don't know where those bullets go immediately. You have to go and look at the body to see where the bullets went. Did he do that before he make that comment? I don't know. I don't know. But this is very difficult, really in truth, when you think about it. It's really, really difficult. And I'm just hoping that we're not getting so numb to it that we allow it to normalize. But I want to ask you a question. And this is the question I want to ask. And I would like for some of you, if you so desire, and if you would be so kind, to answer it. Because a call has been being made for several years now for a national police misconduct database, where officers who are clearly found to have violated egregious violations, not some simpleton stuff, because I'm not talking about cussing a citizen out. We can't be hypocrites, because we cuss folk out too, and the police cuss you out. They don't know reason to not hire him for another department because he cussed somebody out. I'm talking about the kind of actions of this Officer Grayson, choking people out, those kinds of things, falsely arresting people, planting evidence on people, planting dope, releasing a police dog on suspects unnecessarily when it's clear they've surrendered. You release the dog on the man anyway. After the man is handcuffed, you assault him and unnecessarily pepper spray him. Those kinds of things. Do you think a national police misconduct database should exist? Because the conversation and recent initiatives are underway just now to put something like this in place. So I'm going to go to the dashboard and see how we are responding. Audience, it's a good number of you on there too. Shout out to all that have tuned in. Of course, Sister Bree, I see you. Brother William, Sister Johnny, Sister Marissa, and who else there? Brother Keith, Sister Audrey, and Brother Ricky, Sister Lynn Shell, and others. And then we have those on the web. I can't see those on the web. There's quite a few of those. But do you think that a national police misconduct database should be put into place like immediately? I have a brother who's finally said, "Assalamu alaikum, brother. I worked at the MPD over 20 years and I've never known a pot of water to start a fire. I've never known a pot of boiling water to be a lethal threat." And which reminds me, I said I was going to take you through the use of force continuum. And one brother William said, yes, immediately. And I agree 1,000%. But as you all comment on whether or not you think, and of course you feel free to call in and express deeper why you think it should exist and how. Because I found a paper where they are exploring the idea. And they have some ideas on how it should be set up. And I'll share that in a moment. We got about 20 minutes left. But use of force continuum. Officers are trained that the first stage in the use of force is officer presence. That's why you have a uniform patrol. When you're in your ward as a police officer, the goal is to patrol, to move about in your assigned patrol area, to be present so people see you. I can tell you from personal experience, when you move about in your assigned patrol area, it lessens the likelihood of events occurring because the people that know that you're on the beat that day, they don't know where you're going to pop up. I walk the cuts, walk the ditches to know the run routes of folks that I know are going to be running with guns on them. The cuts, y'all know there's a whole lot of cuts in the hood. One of the things I was trained to do, and I had an excellent FTO. He was male white. He was an excellent FTO, my primary. And he taught me. He said, man, walk every cut, walk every alley in your ward so you'll know it like the back of your hand. That's what I did. So it is that kind of activity by an officer that lessens the likelihood. But the first step in use of force is officer presence. The second in the continuum is empty-handed control tactics. You put hands on people. Well, no, I'm sorry, no, that's not. The second one is verbal commands. Verbal commands. The third one is empty-handed control tactics. You put your hands on people. Mm-hmm. The fourth is use of chemical agent, pepper spray. Yep. And I think the taser falls in that category as well. Some officers carry tasers, some don't. I never wanted one. Then the next step after that is blunt force, meaning your police baton. And the very last one is lethal force. So you have 1, officer presence, 2, verbal commands, 3, empty-handed control, 4, chemical agent or taser, 5, the blunt force object, your police baton, and 6. Now, given the situation, you don't have to go through 1 through 5 to get to 6. But if you go to 6, you have to be presented with a lethal threat to justify the use of lethal force. So now ask yourself, is a pot of boiling water a lethal threat? Especially in light of the fact that you told the person to go and remove the pot from the stove. And she never made a comment that I will throw the water on you. She said, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. And why did she say that? Because he suggested that she was going to do that. So, do you think that a national police database of police misconduct should exist? And everybody, yes, sir, absolutely, yes, immediately, yes. It's all on my dashboard. Well, I found a little information that is actually, it's the Center for Justice Research at Texas Southern University. Police Reform Action Brief is what it's called, National Police Misconduct Database. 7th brief in the Reimagining Police series. There are some people that take grave offense in the policing profession to police reform. And there are some pros and there are some cons. And this is coming from citizens and those who have studied it to take a look at it. All the way, some say defund the police. Now, me personally, I take issue with that. That's not a smart tactic to defund the police. It's not intelligent. But at any rate, according to this brief, it says, as police leaders pledge to reform and weed out bad apples within their departments, it has become more urgent than ever for law enforcement to have a formal, wide-reaching system in place to identify police misconduct. Now, what's wrong with that? On any other job, there is an apparatus in place to identify bad actors in their workforce. They have something called policy and procedures. Police departments have them. And depending upon which ones you violate, it warrants termination. And even law enforcement action or legal action, civil or statutory. Like if you steal and embezzle, you can go to jail. It continues, it says, there are 697,195 full-time sworn law enforcement officers employed in more than 13,000 local police departments throughout the U.S. Federal statute defines police misconduct. There's a federal statute on it now. And it defines police misconduct as the excessive force, sexual assault, intentional false arrest, theft, or the intentional fabrication of evidence resulting in the loss of liberty to another. That's how it's defined. Strikingly, it continues, however, there exists no formal national database that records officers' misconduct and the police officers' resulting resignation or termination due to misconduct. Consequently, law enforcement officers guilty of serious misconduct can find employment at different agencies after they have been fired or resigned due to the unavailability of a national database. But the vetting process should catch that. You fill out the application. In a climate like this, the hiring departments of police departments, it would behoove them to at least check local agencies to see whether or not this person has been employed in any of these agencies, local within that state, and perhaps states adjacent to it. At least do that in the absence of a national database to see, was this person employed by another agency, and what is his personnel file? What does it look like? Because see, when you get a complaint on you, that becomes public information. When you get complained on. And the kind of work, the nature of policing and what officers do, the nature of it presupposes that you're gonna get complained on. Yes. Because I don't care how you do it, when you correct people, they're gonna find something wrong with the way you correct them, even though you've done it textbook. Telling you from personal experience. You can do it textbook. You can bend over backwards and break your neck. I ain't gonna say that much. But you can bend over your backwards and follow every policy and procedure to the T when handling some of us. And we're gonna still find a reason to complain on an officer that is doing his job and doing it well. So that's real. But the officers that are not, there has to be something in place to keep these jokers from doing what this Grayson guy has done. This man jumped to 6 different departments within a span of 4 years. That is a serious, serious red flag. What was he searching for? This is the question that it begs. What was he looking for? You mean to tell me he didn't fit into all of those departments to where he felt like he needed to leave, resign, if that's what they said? And what about the ones that say other? Did he actually leave or resign, or was he pushed out because they realized they had a bad apple and got rid of the apple before it rotted the rest of the barrel? And didn't say anything, kept it hush-hush? And then leave a live, grenade-minded man to bounce from agency to agency to an unsuspecting community and a department that failed to do their due diligence to ensure. But see, the truth is, some sheriffs want them goons on their force because they are a goon themselves. You can get mad all you want to. Because any of you that know Muhammad, I don't care about you getting mad. You get mad all you want to because the truth is the truth. Otherwise, what happened in Rankin County, Mississippi would have never happened. They actually called themselves the Goon Squad. Shot a man in the mouth. Sodomized 2 grown men. These are police officers doing this. And you got enough nerve to get mad? Those of you, because I know somebody out there mad. You got enough nerve to be angry with me for telling the truth about it? See, brothers and sisters, this is the very reason we got to change the way we respond to this mess. And in the words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., we got to start redistributing some pain. Oh, yeah. See, because how can we continue to give our dollars and resources to a people and to businesses and even to municipalities that refuse to protect us? Our tax dollars go to pay these persons that they go hire. How long will you continue to fund your own oppression? Because essentially, that's what we're doing. We're paying the wicked to be wicked to us because we refuse to rechannel our dollars. And I can hear some of the Negro sycophants out there because I know some. How do you know what dollar is a black dollar? It's the dollar that's in black people's hands. That's which one it is. And it goes out of our hands, and we do business with most of the people we do business with don't look like us. And in the words of my dear brother in the ministry and a colleague who says, we blame white people for 95% of our problems and spend 97% of our money with them. Something's wrong with that. But as we approach the end of tonight's podcast, I thought it appropriate to bring this subject before our listening audience because it is another recurring nightmare of the extrajudicial killing of black life. And in all honesty, the response this time is noticeably, to me, a bit more muted. Have y'all noticed that? When Michael Brown got killed, the country exploded. The black community exploded. Not saying that it should have, but it denoted that we had a sensitivity to it. Here's this sister. This woman was shot in the face, man. And I noticed they moved real quick. It wasn't no put on, on the desk or put off work with paid leave They moved pretty quick on this one because it was brutally obvious. And you check the demeanor as you watch the body cam, you watched him walking among his coworkers. You can see in the body language, many of those officers on the scene and the look on their face, they knew that was foul. Knew it was foul. And listening to him, there was a deathly silence amongst them. So, brothers and sisters, I pray that we take this episode, this happening with this sister, to begin to reevaluate how we respond. And I offer to us, there's been a man has been among us that has been a guiding light, giving good advice to black folk on how to respond to these things. But what it takes to respond in the manner that he is advising, and his advice is on the level of the divine, because it is in line with how all of the prophets told those who were oppressed before us to respond to an oppressor. You had to get away from him. You have to come out from under their tutelage. You have to separate yourself from them. Because if they don't want to give us freedom, justice, and equality, then separation is just the next natural step in the progression of the pursuit of justice and freedom and equality. So, brothers and sisters, we are at the end of tonight's podcast, and we're going to close it with a cultural segment. And I'm hoping and praying, brothers and sisters, that we as black people take a deeper look in all of the small cities in particular, down in Mississippi and Alabama and Georgia, because it is the smaller municipalities where these things happen, and a lot of them don't even make the news, or it just becomes a local happening and it never goes too much further than that. These things are happening, brothers and sisters, far more frequently, and they are far more common than we realize. Yes, it is. Brothers and sisters on a daily basis are being handled by local police departments, officers, in a way that it's like a Gestapo in our community, and our people are living in fear. Literally living in fear in these small towns, afraid of the sheriffs and his goons, and can be stopped at any moment. I have talked with people, brothers and sisters, in Bolivar, Tennessee. Some years ago, a brother told me that he got pulled over by the police for speeding. And the officer asked for his ID. When he presented his wallet, the officer took his ID out and took all the cash that was in his wallet, gave him his wallet back. This is the kind of stuff that we living under, man. So, brothers and sisters, we're going to give you a good one. I want to bring a brother to you. His name is Eric Cross, and I just want to play one of his throwbacks. It's entitled My Son. Take a listen. Hopefully it'll lift your spirits, and we'll be back to close tonight's program.
My son, forget not my law, but let thine heart keep my commandments. For length of days and long life and peace shall they add to thee. Let not mercy and truth forsake thee. Bind them about thy neck. Write them upon the table of thine heart. So shalt thou find favor and good understanding in the sight of God and man. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths.
Son, I tell you the truth, the time has come for you. Know that it belongs to you. I'm talking about what the prophets prophesied. Pharaoh said, kill all the boy babies, spare the women, the girls, and the ladies. The enemy is a killer, many black boys have died. Oh, oh, my son, my son, my son. The world is changing, it's rearranging. My son, my son, my son, my son. Don't let this world deceive you, it'll mislead you. Provide for your babies and wife. Remember to treat people right. Stay away from evil and strife. Be a loving husband and never hit your wife. Aaron said, kill all the boy babies, spare the women, the girls, and the ladies. The enemy is a killer, many black boys have died. Oh, oh, son, my son, my son, my son. The world is changing, it's rearranging. My son, my son, my son, my son. Don't let this world deceive you, it'll mislead you. Wake up early to pray, keep your word that you say, and don't you violate. Be a brother to others, and don't you harbor hate. Sing your song about all the boy babies that are dead and incarcerated. Gunshot, woo! Many black boys have died. Oh, my son, my son, my son. Oh, it's changing. Oh, the world is changing. It's rearranging. Oh, it's rearranging. My son, my son. Gotta be made new. Gotta be made new. Don't let this world deceive you. Oh, don't let this world deceive you.
The word involved in something we can't understand.
Yeah.
Black man keep a black man. The hunters on the we to pray. They coming for our faith and pride. We gave up on hope and we back down for regret. The real man on that bed cutting off our fat shit. Now it's back to the basics. People shooting each other in their faces. Now we out here hungry cause we back down from the white man. There's no more future plan. We baking each other in the pain. Yeah, we shooting, killing each other, but we scared to step up to the man. So your life is full of sin. But Park say you better drink and feel for vodka just in case you won't get in. Our man is still on stupidity. Drama is chaos. Keep a pistol whooping they mama just to get the rock. Yeah, the rat and Billy do need to stop. Every time I look up, I see rest in peace signs on people's search. Cause a man body in a hearse is a body in a hearse. My brother.
My son.
Welcome to the DEATACO, when evil killers hang a plenty. Crack on every corner, DEA done tackle many. Black men getting scarce about statistics last we checked. By the year 2050, there won't be too many left. For my sister Satan plan to twist your mind, I hate your man. For they know without the mother of it, no nation can stand. So they kill the boy and spread a woman, so securing lands. Switch the law, do all they can just to keep your face in the sand. The world is changing and no man can stop the drama. Now Barack Obama, murders on the corner and that rock then got your mama. So we depending on this up and coming generations, patience, my son. The unshackled lion and a giant when awakened, my son. Even when defying the fire in them quaking, my son. What the slaves prayed for when running and shaking. Send us one who won't fear mountain no more and know what he know. My God, my son, my God, my son.
Let's let the track play on, man. Another 24 Scientist Productions. I just sit up and drink a glass of water to it. Sit up and just sit in the truck and watch the river. There's another one, baby. 24 Scientists.
Fearless on the move.
Yes, that was our brother and friend, Brother Eric Cross, entitled My Son. Brothers and sisters, want to thank you once again for tuning in to tonight's episode of the 10K Fearless Podcast. And we hope and pray that we will be back next week. Same place, same time for more of the 10K Fearless Tri-State Podcast. And until then, please allow me to leave you as I came before you with the greeting words of peace. Assalamu alaikum, or peace be unto you.
Deep in the delta where the willows grow, in the soil stained by the blood of my ancestors. Punch bowl voices call out to my soul for justice. The wicked will reap what they've sown. Spirit of Aziz is back on the rise. Soldiers in the delta kept it alive. Time to stand up, take our place in the sun. Understand the time and what must be done.
10,000 fearless on the move. 10K fearless. This is it. 10K fearless on the move. Mississippi. Sip.
Gotta make a move and take control. Have something we can call our own. So shine your light, help the people see that now is the time for us to be free. And if you waiting on the pie in the sky, you better wake up fast. They told you a lie, cause big fields await the wide awake man. Elijah's got the massive
10,000 fearless on the move. 10K fearless. Mississippi. 10K fearless on the move. Mississippi. Sip. Injustice we had enough. All of our divisions we're breaking up. Destiny has been calling us. The spirit of the Most High is guiding us.
See, the time is now. What you waiting on? Quit shooting your brothers. Put your gun down. Come on. They got a cage waiting for you if you keep that up. Early graves coming to you. From that, can't raise you up. Now, Sister Ida B and Fannie Lou, check them out and you'll know what to do. But if you really want your enemy to be alarmed, read the final call. Follow Farrakhan.
10,000 fearless on the move. 10K fearless. Mississippi. 10K fearless on the move. Mississippi. Sip. 10K fearless on the move. 10K fearless on the move. 10K fearless on the move. In Mississippi. 10,000 fearless on the